Thank you for tuning in, and this is the third and final part of the State of the Union address by President Barack Obama, 2014. Let's get right to it. While they were panning around the room, I noticed a lot of people coughing and sneezing and not covering their mouth. I just wanted to point that out. These are supposedly the elites of our nation, or some of the elites of our nation, or supposedly the best of the best and brightest, right? Coughing and sneezing, not covering their mouth. I mean, it was just really disgusting. I mean, no manners to speak of. I mean, and these are our so-called leaders. I just thought it was really gross. Okay, let's get back to President Obama. He promises to fix immigration. He says that immigration, and he's talking about illegal immigrants, will contribute $1 trillion this year. How will that happen? They will contribute $1 trillion. Mr. President, 40% of the people, of American citizens, true blood, born and raised, citizens in the United States are out of a job, cannot find work, do not work, are unemployed. We do not need immigrants. We do not need illegal aliens. We don't need them. There is absolutely no need of them. Remove the illegal aliens and put Americans back to work. Your policies and the policies of the Democratic Senate are setting a precedent where Americans will continually slip off the scales of employment. The business market takes its cues from the government. If the government says it's a-okay to hire illegal aliens who you can then pay under the table and who you can then pay less than minimum wage, since you're so concerned about minimum wage, all 1% of the labor force that actually makes minimum wage, you're so concerned about it, these illegal aliens who make literally, and I have interviewed people personally, $3 and $4 an hour. And then I asked these people, how do you get away with that? Well, we tell the guy when he is not working to go sit down. And for the time period that he is sitting down, he does not get paid. So it breaks down to $3 and $4 an hour. $3 an hour. Can you imagine that? And the manager said that he would never do that. He would never hire that person. It's the owner who is doing that. He, the manager who is actually in control of labor costs and so forth, he said he would never in a million years do that. And the other people said this, had the same exact story. They would not hire these people. It's not the people, the middle management, it's the owners who are doing this. And they get away with it. And the only time that they don't get away with it is when they have an immigration scare. Like, I believe, Nabisco. So Nabisco has factories in middle America, right? Midwest of the United States. And there was a rumor that the INS was coming, and before INS even showed up, they had gathered all of the Mexicans into vans and trucks and buses, transported them all the way to Mexico, and hired nearly 100% black people in their business, in their warehouses. Overnight this happened. The very next day, black people were in there working, and from what I heard, at the same wages. So, Mr. President, when you say that immigrants is just so fantastic, it is a bald-faced lie. He promoted Detroit as an example of job filling with one of his stories about some lady who did something and how the car manufacturers that he helped get back on track, which is the entire scenario was a lie. They did not need anything. All they needed to do was negotiate a reasonable contract with the union. And the union came out second to last. The people who came out to last, the bondholders. They screwed over the bondholders, which the SEC should have stepped in and said, no, 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 no. This contract with the government is not going to work because you're screwing over the bondholder, which is illegal. You go to jail for that. But President Barack Obama is involved in it, and voila, bondholders, you get screwed. Nobody goes to jail. You're supposed to go to jail for that. And Detroit, I don't know if you checked it out, is not a prime example of job openings and job placement and putting people to work. He promises to reform unemployment. He says that Congress should pass the expired unemployment bill that they voted against, they voted down. Now, in the grand scheme of things, when we're talking about the deficit of $17 trillion, unemployment and food stamps specifically, I'm just talking about unemployment and food stamps specifically, do not even have an iota of an impact on the deficit. So if anybody tells you, oh, I don't care who they are, conservative or Republican, whatever they want to call themselves, food stamps and unemployment have no impact on the deficit. It's calculated in millions of dollars. Everything else, when we're talking about the deficit, is calculated in billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. Medicare, prescription drugs, hundreds of billions of dollars. The military industrial complex, hundreds of billions of dollars, to the tune of trillions actually. And it's not supposed to be that way. There is nobody on the planet right now threatening the United States. The military is supposed to be limited to those who threatened us. Everybody here watching me knows, I assume you're smart enough, that there is a military industrial complex. So it's not just our military that we're paying for. We pay for the contractors. So the people who own the corporations and businesses that have contractor contracts with the U.S. government, of course, want what? More war. So we go to war. We go get stationed here. We go to this place and that country and that country. There is nobody on the planet threatening the United States. Name one. Barack Obama said minimum wage should be raised. He will unilaterally raise government contractor minimum wage workers by executive order to $10 an hour. It is a constitutional violation, just hands down. He doesn't have that authority. In an interview, a Democratic congressman said that Congress has to enforce the Constitution. And he was being interviewed by CNN. You know, those nice liberals who pretend that they're balanced, but they are just as liberal as MSNBC. The reporter then said, "You don't mean you're going to impeach him?" And the congressman, he said, "That would be crazy." And the congressman responded, "We have to enforce the Constitution. If it goes to that, we must stand for the Constitution. The president does not have the authority to unilaterally do anything. He does not make laws. He is supposed to defend laws that are already passed. He has a military to do that, and he has these agencies, which I personally don't believe should be even around. Now, only 1% of the people that work in the U.S. are on minimum wage. They are only on that for 6 months to a year. After 6 months or a year, you get a raise. You are no longer on minimum wage. So 99% of the people listening to and arguing and talking about minimum wage have no stake in it because they are not on minimum wage. And they appeal to your emotion. Oh, think about the people. Think about who? They're on minimum wage temporarily. A 16-year-old who works at McDonald's and gets minimum wage for 6 months can do one of two things. He can get a raise, or he can go somewhere else and say, "I've already worked for 6 months. I have 6 months of experience. I need you to pay me this." And they do. That's how business works. They are very happy to get experienced workers. Minimum wage provides entry-level jobs that does not require any schooling, any skill, nothing. That's the whole idea behind minimum minimum wage. It's somebody that you hire to fulfill this position just so this particular set of things get done during the business hours. If that's sweep the floor, that's sweep the floor. Now, how old do you have to be to sweep the floor? 4, 5, 6? I know I cleaned my house when I was that old. I swept the floor, I cleaned the kitchen, I cleaned my bed, I cleaned the living room, I polished it, dusted, aerosoled, vacuumed, washed, everything. And these people are getting paid to do that in businesses for a minimum wage for just 6 months or a year. They appeal to your emotions to think about the people who are trying to, nobody is trying to raise a family on minimum wage. And if they are trying to raise a family on minimum wage, they are what you would call stupid. If you have a family, you must do your duty to get an appropriate job that pays an appropriate wage. If you cannot get an appropriate job that pays an appropriate wage, there's something wrong with the system, not with you. And the minimum wage, don't say minimum wage is the answer. Minimum wage is not the answer. Oh, well, I'll just do whatever I can. Sure, you try and make ends meet, but what you really should be doing is going and buy you a bushel of oranges and selling that on the corner. You will make far more money doing that than working a minimum wage job. Anyway, let's call a spade, huh? If you are 30 years old with 2 kids and a wife and you're making minimum wage, there is something wrong with you. And if you give me stories like that, there is something wrong with that person. I don't care. What have they been doing for 15 years? What? And who married them? And I come to the next point. No one in Obama's speech, and he stopped to tell all these stories. Oh, I remember this guy, and the guy sitting right there. I remember this woman, and the woman sitting right there. Not a one of them were black. Nobody in those speeches. And he had over 12, 15, 20 stories. Not a one of them were black. So black people, why are you all up on him like this? Like he's a brother, we have to stand with him. No, black people, you have to stand with yourself. You're an adult. And here's our problem as a community. We're always looking for a leader. Barack Obama is not the black leader. He has gone out of his way to tell you that he's not the black leader. He's gone out of his way to deny you at every instance. Nobody in his little stories and his little touching stupid stories was black. That should tell you right there, he doesn't care about you if you're black or Asian or Native American or Jewish. Then he started cheerleading Medicare and prescription medication as lowering the cost for seniors. Yet it's bankrupting America. Understand that when the government pays for prescriptions paid directly to pharmaceutical companies, they do not negotiate a lower price. The cost goes up nearly every month. And they don't care. Why? Because it's tax dollars. It's not theirs. It's not their money. They're not reaching into their pocket, taking out their wallet and counting off the Benjamins. Oh, here you go. No. If that were the case, do you think we would be in a $17 trillion deficit? There is nobody out there that even cares about that. Then he promoted, just briefly, ever so briefly, Obamacare. Everybody needs health care and we're lowering costs of health care. Can you believe he said that? Then he talked about gun violence. He says gun violence. Then he said he would take guns and he will get guns with or without the help of Congress. That is executive order. He's going to come after your guns. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He said it point blank, with or with, and they stood up and clapped. Where's the guy that said you lie? We need him. He promises to close the Guantanamo prison. Again, I will believe that when he actually does it. Saying it in a speech means absolutely nothing. And this one I don't understand. He promises to support the Palestinians for a full-fledged country of their own. In the same breath, he says he stands tall and supports Israel. Well, in this case, Israel is an invading force who stole all of the Palestinians' land to begin with. And the people at the time, and they said that they had an international treaty, the people who believed in Zionism, let me interject that he tried to take credit for Iran stopping building a nuclear bomb. Let me just get into this Zionism thing just for a brief second, and I'll end on this note. The people who wanted Zionism, who had been talking about Zionism, had been talking about Zionism since the 1800s, since the 18th century, actually, which would be the 1700s. They were talking about that, and it was promoted and started by a guy in Europe. These are Khazarian Jews. These are European people. I just heard a geneticist who does nothing but study Jews, the people who call themselves Jews. And he said 90% of the people who call themselves Jews, and if we trace it through the mother, are not Semitic whatsoever. They are 100% European, which I don't understand the whole animosity towards the Jews. That is some hoax that I don't know if the Catholics or just the nobility of Europe, Western Europe, did to create this animosity. I don't know. I know that the Jews then turned around and rewrote the Bible into its present form. Not the Catholic Church, the Jews did. So this geneticist said that the Jews, 90% of the Jews today are 100% European. They are not Semitic at all. Nobody, 90% of the Jews today cannot trace their lineage to anywhere, even close to the Middle East. They are Khazarian Empire people. They come from Europe, period. A guy proposed that and he was the cause of the Bible being rewritten. That the whole of these promises, and that the Jews were special people, and that they were promised a homeland. Okay, this is how the Bible was changed. All of that was added to the Bible. That was not in the Bible. And I know Christians are going to say, oh no, you're lying. But I'm not lying. I'm sorry, I'm not lying. It doesn't take away my faith, and nor should it yours. Religion is religion. God is something completely different. If you really believe in God, you need to believe in God, not a religion. So let's continue with this. So they said they needed a homeland for Jews. This is in the 17th and the 18th century, in the 1700s. They needed a homeland in the 1700s. They wanted Argentina or Brazil. The whole Palestinian Middle East place was not even on the table. And in fact, that wasn't on the table for over 200 years. That wasn't even a thought. They wanted, they wanted to live some place in paradise, with the Amazon jungle around them. They wanted the golden rivers, the fountain of youth to be flowing through there. That's what they wanted. And the place was Argentina or Brazil, somewhere in South America. That whole Palestinian area was not even a consideration until well into the Zionist talks post-World War II. Go look it up. Don't call me a liar. Go look it up. Go look it up for yourself. So they literally, when they decided that it would be the Palestinian area, they literally invaded with an army, with the backing of the United States, with their European powers behind, with tanks, guns, and literally slaughtered the Palestinians. Now, for this guy, President Obama, to say that he stands behind the Palestinians to create their own country, does that mean that we are finally going to do away with the state of Israel and the European Jews can go back to Europe? The reporter, the White House correspondent, said point blank that the Jews in Israel were not Semitic at all, and she lost her job that week. I mean, within days. She had worked in the White House and as a correspondent and as a reporter for almost, 70 years or something like that? She was 90 something when she died. And within a week, she was gone. And to top it all off, the person asking her the question says, "Are you anti-Semitic?" She said, "No, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm a Semite myself. How can I be anti-Semitic? I'm telling you the people are not Semitic. I'm Semitic. They are not Semitic." She lost her job within days. I don't understand the animosity towards the people who call themselves Jews. I don't understand the animosity to begin with. I don't know where it stemmed from. And the Bible has changed anyway. You would think that the change would have helped out in in the negotiations. And throughout history, Jews actually provided a service to the European power. I don't want to say European power because they're European to begin with. To the Western nobility. They were Eastern European. I'm talking about Western Europeans. So they did taxes. They did all of these calculations, which in the Christian faith is considered usury, and you're not supposed to do usury. Of course, here in the United States, we do usury left and right. Just take a look at your credit card. That is complete and total usury. So for Barack Obama to say he's going to support a Palestinian state or a Palestinian country, what does that mean? And in the same breath, say that he supports Israel, which, if you have been paying attention to his entire presidency, he has been going back and forth on that. Israel has been mad at him. They're happy. They're mad. They're happy. He's been happy, mad with Israel. He's for them, he's against them. He's for them, he's against them. The facts are facts. They invaded, slaughtered, and continually slaughter Palestinian people. That should stop. They are not Semitic. They don't belong on that land. That was something that came in a negotiation involving politics, involving Zionism, which is not real. You're not owed a homeland because you're European. You're not even Semitic. You're not a Semite. Now, I can say I'm African, I need to go back to Africa, but all I need to do is get a plane ticket. I'll be right there. Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show, and this concludes my analysis of the State of the Union Address 2014 by President Barack Obama. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment.